Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Tacoma, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm Nick Solorzano. I think I know all of y'all here, pretty well. So I lead our communications team, which y'all, which Jayla's on, and y'all all talk with Jayla constantly. And so we just want to say thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for coming tonight. I'm gonna quickly introduce our election administrator, Paul Adams. I know he's eager to meet some of y'all, and he's gonna walk up here and say a little bit about himself. And yeah. Welcome to the first CEAC meeting.
All right.
I like the video.
Oh,
that y'all
well,
posted.
well, that wasn't me. That was Nick's department.
That was Jayla.
I didn't agree to do it. Well, thank you. I didn't realize I would be sitting up front here. But I know I've talked with a few of you before, but I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to working with you. I'm sure, as you saw, I am from Ohio and just got here not too long ago. My first day was October 1st. So I'm still kind of getting used to working here. Right now, my plan for this election is to see how things are working through this election. I think this is a good election for me to jump in. I think it was about 2.5 weeks. I went from being up in Ohio, jumping all the way down here. So I'm very much one of the reasons for that was just to see how everything works this election. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to be working on next year. And there's a number of things that I'd like to work with you guys on over the next year in particular. I will let you know that where I come from, I'm very used to working with a lot of people in the community and use that as a resource because I think it's important that individuals in the community that want to participate and want to work with us, we need to make a place for them. We can't do everything by ourselves. You guys are the individuals that have the connections in the community that I don't, and you can reach out and try to build those bridges that we need as election officials. So that's just a very brief thing on me. I'm sure some of you have read stuff about me already. Good things, bad things, I don't know. But did you have any questions for me? I know we had an item agenda here was introduction of me at some point. I don't know who's controlling the, but did anybody have any questions? Comments, complaints? All right, okay. I won't ask complaints the next time, but this time I think I can ask for complaints.
I have a question, but it might be part of the meeting agenda. I don't know if you're familiar with the CEAC, which we used to have, which was the community, and if there are plans to be established.
That is on the agenda. We're going to be talking about that with polling locations, vote centers, those kind of things. So that is something that we will be discussing a little bit later. For part of this meeting or a good portion of this meeting, Nick is going to be kind of stepping up running some of it because I'm a little new, but I'm sure you'll see more of me in future meetings. And I'll take her through the whole meeting and answer any kind of questions. But unless you have any questions for me specifically, I will hand it over to Nick. And maybe sit off to the side. I don't know that I need to sit up front.
So we'll do a quick, I guess, call to order. I don't know how y'all want to kind of run this one, but we're going to say, I guess, do we need to say our names just out loud for everyone that's here? Can everyone we'll start from the left and just say our names out loud for the record?
Wenda Lowe.
Elaine Campbell.
Hannah Kessler, Camila Correa Bordeaux, Jasmine Flores,
Donna Shelton.
Tracy U. Clinton.
Jayla Dade and me, Nick Solorzano. So we'll go to the next slide. I think the first thing is the topic of and then we go to the next one of this constitutional election coming up. We're coming up pretty quick. And so we have obviously we have the 17 constitutional amendments, right? And then we have locally, we have city.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For attendance, do we need to make quorum or anything
Ooh,
like
we have
that?
people online, so I don't know if we have.
Just to take attendance?
Yes.
Because I think there's some people that are not on the list.
As of now, we're missing William Griggs. Dr. Levels is online, but that does not account or
Okay.
does not count towards quorum.
Good call.
Bridget Nevels is not online. I don't believe, or here, or present.
Okay.
Renato, Mr. De Los Santos, he is not present. And then Anna Coca, she stated she would be online, but I don't see her yet, but I also don't have a great view. So as of now, we're not meeting quorum,
But I don't think we're making any action. so
but
we
we're
should
not
go
calling
back to
any action.
So Gracie Cortez is on the, for attendance, is also not here.
Yes, she's not here.
And then there was a name, and then the others, should I add them? Like,
Jasmine Flores and Donna
Oh.
Shelton.
and Donna Shelton.
Mhm. You can record them. Thank you.
Sorry.
Elaine, this is Lavetta.
Good afternoon.
Hi,
Elaine,
Dr.
can you hear
Yeah.
me?
I can.
Yes, we can.
I didn't see, do we have any items for that require action tonight?
You do not.
We don't.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So we'll go to the upcoming election right now. We're in full swing. Stuff's already getting delivered to our early voting sites. We've been delivering for at least a week nowadays, or this last week. So we have City of Duncanville, City of Farmers Branch, City of Glen Heights. City of Mesquite actually has a mayoral race, so we're expecting to see some pretty good turnout there. We'll see how it goes. Town of Sunnyvale, Garland ISD, and Richardson ISD. So those are the ones in addition to the 17 constitutional amendments. The sample ballot should be up online. Everything should be running. And within the next week, the Dallas Morning News will publish the notice that we have to send out legally. Everything's running well, running smooth. We're there. And of course, early voting starts this next week. We're pretty excited. So we go to the next one. This is kind of the breakdown. If anyone has any questions, we have 513 judges, 70 for ED, one for each EB location, and then 443 locations. We just had one drop 2 days ago. It was a school. We went to make a delivery to the school. School's under construction. So we called them, we read it off, talked to them. I forget what school it was. But so we have 443 and now 444 that literally just changed, I believe, 2 days ago. So clerks, 3,157, 506 EV. Election day, 2,646. So I know we're expecting a smaller turnout here, but we still run a full election. So we're gonna have 2,000 judges and clerks. Student clerks, 200. I think this number will actually go up. We had about 600 apply, which is great. Thank you all for sharing it, everybody. And I think that's something we want to talk about next meeting, how we can get more contacts, because we do go manually through, try to add principals, try to add government teachers, civics teachers. And if anyone has a clean list, we'd like to eventually add it all together, get some lists, because we'll still get some ISD teachers and stuff that come to us and go, we didn't know. Deadline's passed. We didn't know. We go, okay, we'll add you to our list, but maybe it's something as an advisory group we can work on together. Because we do that March election, we're at least gonna have one per location. So we're gonna hire, I think this probably makes us one of the biggest employers of high school students, right? We're gonna hire 500-600 every couple of elections and then do it again in November and then do it again in May. Inspectors and technicians, I'm sure y'all all know what that is. So we'll have 9 EV inspectors kind of doing their rotations throughout the 70 EV locations. They're out there right now helping judges set up. Different judges have already come up. They're setting up the locations. All of our judges are all 9 are running right now. Election day, we'll have 80 inspectors and technicians. Phone bank operators, that happens about 2 doors down. EV will have 5 of them and ED will have 35. Those are when our judges have issues, they'll call in. They'll go straight back to that line. And these are people who have been judges for years and years and years. Even Tony Pippin's pool works there. She was a former EA 2-3 EAs ago. So we put a lot of expertise back there to answer call and help any new judges or anyone that needs help on election day, setting up equipment, or sometimes they'll call for provisional ballots. They're just not 100% sure about this or that, but we'll get the process and we have them working the lines from an hour before open to an hour after close. So they're running pretty well. So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like right now. We're doing good. So this is what we're kind of guessing, maybe a bit lower, to be honest, but yeah. We wish it was higher. We know there's constitutional ballots up there, but you can see previously we kind of stay really close to that 6% range. We might have a little bit higher here, but we're kind of guessing it's going to stay there. Local elections, Texas, we know you're all experts in elections, so we know what we have. But yeah, somewhere 6%, 7. Yeah. But historically, that's what we've seen. We can go to the next one. Again, it's just kind of another breakdown of that. 9, 7, 9, 6, 11%. That 11%, 2023. I'm trying to remember. I think that May election, we were looking at City of Dallas. All right, the City of Dallas had a bunch of council members, the biggest city. So we'll probably not see anything near that. Like I said, Mesquite is the only one having a mayoral race. The Farmers Branch is having a city council race. Glen Heights has a mayor race. Okay, so we'll see a bit in Glen Heights. So we'll probably be somewhere between those two. Closer to the 6, we're guessing. So this one, the review and discussion is the next agenda item. Or if anyone has questions about our current election. Anybody, any questions? Okay.
No, I want to say welcome to you. Welcome to Dallas County. I see that the school that's no longer a voting center is Elijah M. Peace, and they have been under construction for several years. So I don't know why they were even included this time. They haven't been included previously because they have
Yes,
been under construction.
Yes, Dr. Levels. Yeah, you're 100% correct. So we have our standard voting locations. I believe some of you were on that VSAC that we met so many times. So it's a standard location. So we send that ISD the same standard locations every single year. And they have told us before, hey, it's under construction, not this election, not this election. But since it's on our standard list, we'll send it out every year. And then I think it was just something, and then they'll send something back saying, no, this one's closed, that one's closed, you can't use this one. And it was just something that was missed. I think when we sent it to them, they told us a few schools that they couldn't use. That one was, they didn't mention that one. And then when they went to go deliver, we called that ISD back and we said, hey, it's under construction. They said, oh yeah, that's right. We forgot to tell you that one as well. So it was just kind of a miscommunication. But yeah, you're right. And the reason that happens is because we send the standard list every time, because that's the list we've agreed upon.
So they didn't offer one in its day.
No, there's a whole process for that is,
It had to go the
We'll
court,
go-
commissioners court and all that.
no, not for that one. For that one, sometimes we'll find a replacement, especially if it's a high turnout. So if this would March, we would say, hey, is there anything within 0.5 of a mile, 1 mile,
I
2
got
miles?
you.
And then we would make sure we had something there. I don't know that school specifically, so I can't say if we had something comparable that was only close or if we're just expecting a lower turnout. So we were just like, well, yeah. So the March primary elections is a lot in the air still. I don't believe we've signed a contract with either party yet. But y'all probably heard a lot about it. I don't know if, I know Paul has been in a lot of those discussions and in some of those meetings. So I don't know if there's any specific you want to mention on that, or if you have any specific questions we can answer and come back with, but.
Yeah, so I will mention, everybody, I have my brief time here already. I've had a number of conversations with both political parties as to how this is going to work out. The Republican Party, as you know, has been moving forward with having a hand count.
Are you referring to election day only?
Correct,
Correct?
correct. That is
Not
correct.
early voting.
Correct. Early voting would still be handled how we've done it previously. It would be election day only. And like I said, I've had conversations with both political parties. We've been having internal meetings about how that's actually going to work. There's a lot of components that have to go into this. I will tell you that the way I've looked at this going into this is, number one, both political parties have a right to be involved legally with how their process is going to work. So I want to respect their legal authority. But at the same time, I want to protect the voters as well as our elections department. If there are things that we do not normally do, such as hand counting ballots, that is going to be something that's going to be the expectation of the Republican Party. And they completely understand that. I've had a number of meetings with them, their hand counting team, of making a clear delineation between what is our legal responsibility. If you want to do what you want to do, then you need to take responsibility for a number of items. And at this point, they are everything that we are having conversations with them about, but it's very early in this process. Typically, as an election official, I don't like to start thinking about the next election until I get done with this one.
Yeah,
But the timeline doesn't allow us to do that.
right.
So we're kind of simultaneously doing multiple things here at the same time. So I don't have any fine details for you, but if you have any questions, I would be willing to take those, but just know I'm not at the point yet where we even are close to a contract. Yes.
I understand nothing firm has been done. Are they going to have a machine count as well? Or are they just going to take their ballots separately, do the hand count, and that's going to be the only count?
So I do know that that is their plan, is to have a completely separate hand count for election day only. The Secretary of State's office has asked them to utilize ballots in a format that we provide with timing marks that would look like ballots that we use in any other election, so that in an emergency, they could potentially ask that they be scanned in our tabulators here at Central County. However, unless there's an emergency, right now, that is not necessarily their plan. Their plan is to just do a hand count.
So has the judge signed off on this to have this done? This is not.
Like I said, we have not even got to the point to where these are just preliminary conversations, signing a contract. We're not close to that yet. That'll be a number of weeks down the road. Yeah, did you have a follow-up question? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I just wanted,
Sorry, Trey.
I think it's okay. It's okay. It's very much a part of this. It's my understanding that for the general election, the parties can't decide that they want to do.
Correct.
Because that is a more standardized election.
Correct.
Covered by the Texas.
Yeah,
election code.
and the reason for that is that, you know, primary election really is that party's elected. They are making the determination of who their candidates are going to be. So that's the reason why that allows that. But you're correct, in a general election or the election like we're about to have, they do not have that authority to make that determination.
May I suggest that if this hand count goes forward?
Yeah.
Which it likely will, because I agree with their party. They have a right to do a hand count if that's what they want in a big county like this and not have the results maybe for a couple of days. But it maybe for the general population who hasn't read the Texas election code, it may be worthwhile to have a notice saying the Republican primary will have a hand count. In the general election, there are different rules, and that will not necessarily be an option.
And I completely agree with you. One of the things that has already been part of my requests of both political parties is that as we get to the point that we're developing the contracts, that the contracts be written in a way, as I previously mentioned, respecting their right, but I want to protect the voters. I want to make sure that it is written in a way that we are allowed as the elections department to conduct a robust public awareness campaign.
Absolutely.
There are going to be a lot of, I mean, it's not just how the ballots are going to be handled. They may potentially be using different polling locations. We won't have votes. There's a lot of different components here. And I think as part of my expectations here, one of them protecting the voters is going to be my requirement in these contracts, that we are allowed to do a very robust public awareness campaign and then go into the commissioner's court to look for funding to make that happen. But I don't see that would be necessarily an issue, but I think it's going to be important. So absolutely. Yes.
Thank you and welcome to Dallas. Thank you for being here with us today. One of the biggest questions I'm getting from people who work elections and who are aware of it is how is this logistically going to work?
It's a really good question.
You know, I mean, in the past, recently, we've had a machine and people walk up and they tell, you know, which they get to choose the primary they want to.
Yeah.
It's one big team. We all work together. But this is going to cause a huge rift in that concept. So are the Republicans going to have their own people and have their own locations and have their own separate thing? That's a question that kind of needs to be answered first.
Yes.
How is this going to work?
Right. And
Before we get any further.
correct. And there are certain requirements that we have. And one of those requirements is anything that we offer to the political parties has to be offered to both. And it has to be something that we normally are doing. So as an example, I will not be providing training on how to do hand counting. We don't do that. That's not something that we typically do. They understand that. And basically how, I guess the way to look at this, at least from this standpoint right now, this early standpoint, is almost like handing off a baton. There are certain things that I'm responsible to do. Our election department is responsible to do. We're going to do those, provide certain supplies that we normally would. We would provide pens to all the polling locations. Well, we're going to provide those to the Democrats. We're also going to provide those to Republicans. We're going to give them their supplies. Okay. At a certain point though, when it comes to, okay, they want, their ballots, they want to do their procedures, they want to create certain forms for the hand counting, that's going to be their responsibility. So I'm handing off, you decided to do that. It's your choice, but it's also your responsibility. Those two things go together, choice and responsibility. So it's going to be, all right, we're at this point, we're handing it off. All those questions about logistics. How are they going to do it at the polling location? How are they going to get the hand counting people there? What is, what's the process by which you're going to, all of that, that is their responsibility. It's the Republican Party's responsibility. And they understand that. Then when they get done, they will have a responsibility then to report back to us of, okay, this is the hand count. These are the numbers that we are reporting back. They're going to provide that back to us. Other things they will provide back to us. And then at that point, that's what we will then use. But if there's a question of, well, hey, there was a particular polling location where we think such and such happened, that is going to be the Republican Party's responsibility because they chose to take on this responsibility. And now they are going to be the ones responsible to answer for what happens.
Who do they answer to? Who's the watchdog of that process? The Secretary of State?
Well, yes. And I will tell you, I do know that they've been meeting regularly with the Secretary of State's office. I would also imagine that, being involved in elections for a long time, there's a lot, I don't know if there's any lawyers in the room, but there's a lot of lawyers that are going to be watching from the political campaigns. If I was a Republican candidate for office or a Democratic candidate for office or any candidate for office, and I had a question about the procedures, I would be watching very closely. And it would not be, election lawsuits happen all the time, whether you're hand count or not hand count. There are going to be people watching. And that is who they are. I mean, ultimately, they're responsible to the voters. If you're asking who's going to potentially come in, there'll probably be a long line of people that will be watching, seeing how that process is going. And if there's an issue, we'll be raising a question. But that's going to be, like I said, that's their choice, but it's their responsibility. So now they've taken that on. Then if there are questions about that process, it's going to be those to contact. So if somebody says, well, what is the training going to be for the hand count? We're not going to be able to answer that question because we will not be including that in our poll worker training. You can contact the Republican Party and ask how that process is going to work. Yes.
I have a question. If they change their mind on the hand counting, are we nimble enough to add them back into the electronic counting?
Very good question.
That is a good question.
Very good question. And that is one of the reasons why one of my first conversations with the Republican Party was talking about a timeline. And I think they are very fully aware of what our timeline would be. And I think that they understand at this point, as we get closer, into next month and into the beginning of December, we'll see how that plays out. But I've made very clear to them in advance here that we have a limited window in order to have this conversation, and they understand it. I'm sure you guys have read in the paper that they have in the news that they've created 3 different criteria by which they need to meet, and they are doing that internally. If they meet those and they want to move forward, we're already, like I said, having a conversation about what that timeline is going to be. And if they don't make it, I think they already understand that then they would need to move to another option. Now, that other option also is going to involve a negotiation on a contract. So there's going to be stuff that happens there. So all the more reason why I had to already start looking at this now, even before we got through this election. Do we have another question?
Yeah, I'm trying to so the Republican Party ballot, or that ballot will go through a different process and results might come out in a different timeline potentially than those that choose the Democratic ballot. And that'll be like the standard.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, as we get them in, we will be posting them. So as the Democratic primary results come in using our current system, we're going to be posting those on our website as they come in. As the Republican ones come in, we will post those as well. If there's a different, lag time on which one comes in, it's just going to be whatever we get in. We get it in, we're going to post it.
And only election day voters.
Correct. Yes.
So one of the things that I read as an article, but when I went to check the law, I found a discrepancy. There seems to be a perception that there is a law that if the Republican Party decides to go precinct level voting rather than countywide voting on election day, that the Democratic Party is required to do the same thing.
So that is something that I have had a discussion with the Secretary of State's office about, and it's kind of the other way, which is you have precinct-based voting in a primary, unless both political parties agree to a joint, and then you can go to vote centers. So in the past, we've done that because there's been a joint agreement to do that. In this case, because there's not a joint agreement, now, and I need to further look into this,
Right.
just being here
It's
since the first.
complicated because the law actually is not black and white.
Correct.
So, yeah.
And that is where we are going to be relying, before anything moves forward with any of these contracts, that will all go through legal.
Yeah.
Secretary of State, make sure that that's done. But from my understanding at this point, what that process is that you automatically start with precinct-based voting. If the political parties agree to a joint, then you can do vote centers, which they have previously.
Right.
In this case, because the Republicans do not want to do that, that goes back to precinct-based voting because it's not an option without a joint.
Okay, so precinct is the default
Correct.
unless you have an agreement.
Correct.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
So can the Democratic Party then insist on having vote centers if, just like they're trying to have their own primary? I mean,
Well,
that
it
could
goes
be a
back to
real
the
legal
default.
battle,
Correct. That goes back to the default, which is you can do the vote centers if there's a joint agreement for a joint primary. Without that, then the default is you go to the precinct-based voting.
Is that state law?
That is my understanding in my conversation with the Secretary of State's office, that that is how that process works. Yes.
What implications, if any, does that have for the general election in 2026?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I don't see that it would necessarily have any implications. They are completely separate elections. The general election is going to be determined not through the political parties like the primaries are. They don't have that authority that they do in a primary election. So I don't see specifically anything that would affect the general election because of this primary.
Okay.
Yes.
So you may have said this and I'm just still in a daze.
No, I'm kind of in a daze on this too.
So how would the Republican and Democratic Party decide on who's sitting on these two teams of counting these ballots? Who's gonna make that decision? The party itself, right?
Correct.
And how soon do they get the word out to whomever they're gonna do it to? I mean, whoever's gonna be charged with having to do all this work. How will the public be notified, or will they notify them? Have they even had that discussion?
So I will tell you that, okay, so the first piece in terms of the workers and how that's gonna work. Those are determined by the political party. So the Republicans already are working on filling, because they have decided they're gonna move forward with not just filling the poll worker positions at the polling locations. They're looking to fill positions for hand count teams too, in addition to that. So they're looking for but that's gonna be their responsibility. That the Democrats will do that as well, select their people, but they will only be looking for people just as they normally have.
Okay.
It won't be anything in addition to what's happened. And then in terms of getting information out, that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, which is one of my points with both political parties is going to be, I want to make sure our contracts are written in a way that we have the ability as the elections department to do a robust public awareness campaign of everything that's happening here, because there's going to be a lot of questions about how this is. You could potentially have cases where the Republicans may have, for certain precincts, may have chosen different polling locations than Democrats have. So we're going to be not only awareness, but making sure our website is available to have places where people can look up, okay, where exactly am I going? That's an important piece of this. And like I said, I'm working to make sure that the contractor's set up in a way where we have the ability to do that.
And one more question.
Yeah.
You did say that you are not going to have a session or a training group to train your staff, to train anybody on how to count ballots.
Yeah, correct. We don't do that. That's not a procedure that we do. We are not required to do any training or procedures on things that we wouldn't normally do. So we will not be doing that. We may do some just general election courses where we go over just general rules that they need to follow, but we are not going to be doing anything on that. And they will then need to have trainers to explain how that process is going to work. Yep. Yeah.
I apologize for arriving late. You might have already touched on this, but there are in court, the redistricting for the primaries. Have y'all thought about the possible implications if the court rules and changes the districts and we might be maybe a later primary or any of those implications yet? Or are we just not able to think about that because it's out of our hands?
No, we are thinking about that. Because those boundaries are potentially changing precinct boundaries.
Right.
And that's going to potentially change polling places. That's a whole big thing. Right now, what we're doing, because we have such a short little window here, what we are doing is we're kind of moving forward when it comes to that particular issue in two paths. One path, assuming that the court does not overrule those lines, and we have to move forward with those boundaries and what those are going to look like. That's a cumbersome process in and of itself. And we are working through that, but it's a really complicated process. I was actually surprised at how many precincts that the redistricting is going to affect in this county. It's a significant number of precincts that will be affected. But we are also moving along the lines of assuming maybe something happens and the current lines stay the way that they are. We're also moving along that path as well, just so that we're ready for either way. Obviously, there's more work with the one that assumes that things stay the way that they are, or that they approve the boundaries that have been recently approved, or keep those. But we are looking at both directions, just in case. Have that ready. Any other questions?
Yes, so I know the appointment, election judges are appointed through the commissioner's court, but they're staffed essentially by the parties. And then the elections department just puts those names into a list and then it goes to court. It essentially means that we'll have to go through a whole new wave of appointment approvals for the primaries. Is that correct? Or would those not need to go through commissioner's court?
I'm gonna write that down because I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay. And there's just a lot more staffing that's gonna be required on both sides, so.
And are you talking about the significant number of precincts that could change if the new boundaries come in? Is that basically where a precinct is cut in half or something between the new lines? What about all those precincts that are not affected by the change?
Correct. I don't anticipate there will be a significant increase in the sheer number of precincts. It's just going to be that the precincts they're changed because pieces of them have been cut off or added to another precinct. We are also looking at, there's a handful of places where the population, the voter counts went over 5,000 because of growth that we will need to address. So there's going to be a lot of changes. I wouldn't say that necessarily means there will be a significant increase in the number of precincts, just different types of different boundaries of those precincts.
But if your precinct was in the middle of the district and that district didn't really change, it's unlikely that precinct would change.
Correct. What Our goal is that really, unless the congressional the redistricting that happened required to change the precinct boundary, or we went over the 5,000 and we're close to that 5,000 and we're concerned it's going to go over. With the exception of those two things, we want to leave precincts alone as much as possible. Because I know full well, when you start playing with voters' precincts, and they're like, I've been in this precinct forever, or you're dealing with the precinct committee person or whatever, you want to leave those alone as much as possible. And if you are going to change them, it needs to be for a really good reason. And that goes back to also helping with that voter education piece.
Yeah.
The less we can touch them, the better.
Because if we go from precinct, the people are used to countywide and we go to precinct and the precinct change,
Yeah,
they're not gonna know where it's supposed to go.
That's too much change. People
yeah,
can't.
And
absolutely.
then in the general, we go back to countywide.
They're just gonna be confused.
Right, absolutely. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you. You grilled me on some good questions on my first meeting here, so thank you. And I will get back to you on the question about the poll workers and how those have to go through the quorum. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so we had one about county vote center. So we go to the next slide. I think we worked with Melissa on kind of getting a general rundown of what changes we would see. So a general election, like we were just talking about a bit earlier, countywide, it's in our hands. We get to do this election. So we go back to the standard list. Unlike as the school is closed or under construction, then we'll try to find a comparable one, especially if it's a high turnout election, something in that area. Public facilities must be available for use unless under construction or building issues prevent availability. Churches though, they can tell us no. We'll try to find something near it. Hopefully we have a government site near it with that meets all the ADA requirements and all that stuff. We have special requirements as y'all know for how many plugs we need per room and all that. So we have a huge list, but we go with our standard list and then we'll change it if we have to. For primary elections, we just walk through that, right? Parties are in charge, parties get to pick. We still give them the standard list. We say, here's our standard list, here's where everyone in the neighborhood usually goes, this is where they've been going, here it is, and then they go and they make contracts and we all work that out. Actually, our voting sites team, and I think Tacoma's, they're all still in their office, doing quite a lot of placing and location stuff. Local elections may, city secretaries, our ISD superintendents, they have a lot of say, right? If the city of Irving really wants 4 early vote centers instead of 2, then we'll do it. Vice versa, those local May elections, they have the local entity holding the election has a lot of control. But I think it kind of goes back, we have a standard list. We always send out that standard list. Irving might say, we actually want an additional early voting location on that standard list. Every city, from city of Dallas to our smaller ones like Sunnyvale, they all have an early voting location at them. So we always use that standard list, but sometimes if it's a primary, they say, we don't want to use your standard list. We'll use some of them, not others. Local elections, you might have a city secretary who knows their city really well. Go, we have a hot contested race. This mayoral race is going to be huge. So we want to open up 2 more early vote centers, right? So we all start with the early list and then our, I don't want to say customers, but our entities will tell us how that will fit their election, right? Do we have any specific?
So are we going to, the process that you outlined regarding the vote centers, are we going to reenact the vote center advisory committee so that the community can have input?
Yeah.
Visibility into that process?
Yeah.
Because we've had some challenges when the last couple of times when we did not have the vote center advisory committee. People were surprised, yeah.
Something maybe changed and they had to go to a different location or.
At the last minute, or what was communicated to the elections department. I know specifically, for example, regarding community colleges or Dallas colleges, what was communicated to the elections department was a little bit off.
Okay.
As far as how many people were
We had
dependent.
a bigger community college last early voting, right?
There were 2 or 3 that were taken off.
Yeah.
Which the students depend on.
Yeah.
And so we really want to be able to, I understand that they have the last say.
Yeah, we go. into
But
contract.
we still really, I think it's very important for the community to have input. For it to be transparent.
So the VCAC is kind of, I mean, it had to be established 2019 when we moved to vote centers. I would say that that's kind of, if we're gonna have major changes, I think we call the VCAs, that, we were talking about that high and low model turnout. That was gonna be a major overhaul. And so we decided we wanted to call it for that, but it's kind of up to, I guess, the VCAC and if we're gonna make some major changes.
Well, my understanding is that the VCAC meeting has to be called by
Yes.
by the elections
Ooh,
administrator.
that-
I don't think we can just make up our own meeting.
No.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So
Um,
that was the question, if we could reenact that
Yeah.
committee.
I know we have bylaws for it. I'll find it.
Okay.
We don't have bylaws for VCAC?
Yeah, we don't have bylaws.
That's right, because there is no quorum for that, and you
We
can
don't
be
have-
appointed to however you.
There was,
That's
sorry to
Yeah, yeah.
interject,
No, you're
there
right.
was no bylaws
Okay.
established or any type of course, like CEAC, we're governed by bylaws, but with BCAC, there's no bylaws or anything as to members.
That's
the
correct.
parts of
So
the
when you
committee.
go to when you take part of the CWP, the countywide polling place program, one of the things that the state advises is to call a vote center advisory council. So it's not even necessarily a requirement by state. It is suggested that any state that wants to go from precinct based to vote center needs to call it so they can establish the standard list of, which we have a standard list. That was done in 2019, I think it was when the first VCAC was called. And then of course, we had all those meetings in 2023 when we were talking about the combining and consolidating districts, and then that didn't work out because the law changed. But that would have something I think that this body can talk about, right? We can kind of come up and see, do we want to establish something for VCAC? Or do we want to, that might be a good thing for us as the body to talk about.
So when we have quorum, would that be something we would have, what would be the process to do that? Would that be something we would have to present and then vote about, or
Let's see now. Is it something from the next agenda?
once we have quorum?
And what's the
Maybe
standard
quorum then.
timeline, like when would, like working backwards from what election?
Yeah,
So I
that's a
think
great question, because those are big changes. And even if we make those changes, it's still kind of up to that previous slide, which is it a general, is it a primary, is it a? And can Dallas College still come back and say, thanks for that list, but we're gonna have to.
Because you have to understand, the Texas Secretary of State, they're making rules for the entire state of Texas, right? Which has, 264 counties. We're the second biggest county in the state. So our rules, I mean, we probably, every election could be major changes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because we're a giant county.
Yep.
So,
So as soon as we had a discussion about it, long range, it would be for the big one coming
It
next
could
year.
be kind of like, and I don't even want to say annual because that seems like a lot, but like a biannual audit of sorts,
Of
like
yeah.
a community audit of looking at what the standard list is and offering
There's
suggestions.
growth in the
So it's
other
not
parts of the
tied to an
county, so
election,
maybe we should put it on a time, yeah.
just like
okay.
a standard
Yeah.
convening that happens. And then
That'd be good.
depending on the laws and the timing of which elections are happening, then that group can make a recommendation for whatever's coming
And
up.
then, yeah. So okay. I think that's something we can put on, if y'all want. Send it to Jada, we can put it on the next agenda item, so we can just kind of talk about it generally.
Okay.
I know James, I don't think James is online, he'd be like, I don't know if we can talk about this.
Yeah.
Attorney. But yeah, but we can put it on the item, so we can't talk about it next year. Okay, so I'm guessing this is Teams and VMAX? VOTEC?
Yeah.
Yeah,
this was my
VMAX
question.
owned by VOTEC.
So I think I gotta talk about that too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
so,
Dallas County.
so I think all of you are familiar with the fact that VOTEC is on its way out of existence. And there have been some concerns with teams moving to them. I know the state is working on updating that system and trying to get more counties involved with that. There are only certain vendors that are obviously certified in the state. We are in a situation where we will need to be making a decision relatively soon of where we want to go forward, whether that be with teams, whether the vendor, how that all works. What I can tell you is right now, Our contract currently allows us to operate the software and get through this election. For the next few months here, I feel comfortable that our system is secure, that we don't have any issues about access to our voter registration system. Things seem to be working well. I actually just had a call with the Secretary of State's office a couple of days ago. They had mentioned about how well things seem to be going with transmitting of data between us and the Secretary of State's office with our system. So I feel comfortable where we are right now, but a decision is going to have to be made relatively soon, probably right after this election, of what's going to happen. I anticipate that the Secretary of State's office may have some additional information on the Teams system that could help us make a decision of where we want to go. But right now we're working at temporarily staying with the system that we have, and we are legally permitted to have access to the system. It's under the contract that we had previously signed that we can continue to have access, and we are doing that. So other than letting you know that the system is working right now, it's secure for the near term, and we're looking at what's going to be next relatively soon. I don't have anything else at this moment on that, but did you have any specific questions?
And this is the voter registration software, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's two. We have Teams, the one that state has just stood up over the last couple of years, have been crafting and making, and then we have our other one that our vendor we've been working with for I don't even know how long. VMAX, they're both voter registration tool software. So we have two. Thankfully, I mean, it was from great leadership that we decided to not just jump fully to Teams, right? We were like, well, they're standing up Teams to state. And we still have VMAX, it's all ours, and we can keep using it. And so we have two things and we can run them concurrently and see how everything works out. I was talking to some friends in some other election offices, some larger counties who went fully to Teams. And they're kind of having some issues here and there, but everyone's working it out. But luckily we have both.
Is there a phase out date for the VMAX?
We do not have a phase out date as of this moment. But I expect that will happen in the next month and a half or so. We'll have an idea, but I feel comfortable at this point that we have access to the system. The system is working fine. We're going to be working with vendors that will be able to service the system if there's any kind of issues, but I don't have a date right now.
Okay. If it doesn't take too much time, what is the phase out cause? Like, I didn't know it was being phased out. So what's the why is it being discontinued?
Basically because the company that operates it is going out of business.
Good reason.
Yeah.
They're having financial difficulties.
Okay.
I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes.
I know we're talking about Dallas County, but there's like an article about Tarrant County and a backlog with voter registration. Does that relate to the fact that we're kind of using multiple systems and that they're using voter registration?
So I'm not sure, is Tarrant County, are they on Teams?
Yeah,
They are.
I think most of them have tried to go. I don't know if they have a backup system or not. I don't know if they have a backup system or not,
Okay.
but there is a bit of a backlog with Teams. They're catching up
Okay.
and they're doing what, the state's doing what they need to do.
And I will tell you, I do know that with our system, there are different versions that are available for different counties. And
Oh,
in
yeah.
my conversation with the state, some of the other, so you may hear, oh, okay, there's another county that has a VMAX system, VOTEC, and they're having a backlog and whatnot. We are not seeing that here.
Again, another great thing was VOTEC launched VMAX 2.0, which was cloud-based. We, for security reasons, said, no, we want ours. So some states made the move to a cloud-based system, and as VMAX is going out of existence, who keeps the cloud going?
Mhm.
Luckily, not us. We're good. We have our own system. It's all here. So yeah. So you might hear some different things. People who are using the same vendor, but we are two different modes.
You mentioned that some counties that had gone 100% to the SOS Teams were having some problems. Do you know what type of problems they were?
Oh man, I have not been part of that. I have not been part of that Teams move. But
Yeah, I don't know that either. I know, from my understanding, it's been in the news from some other, so.
it's just full function. It's just
They said it was a
different
backlog,
functionalities.
what she said.
and backlogs of, getting people. You're having a lot of county records going into one thing right now. There's a bit of a backlog from the general understanding of it.
So the organization I work with, LULAC, sponsors a lot of citizenship classes and do naturalization ceremonies and things like that. Could you speak to the changes in the law that have happened in terms of EDRs, in terms of who's able to register at those events and other events that might, I just want to hear you for the record.
It's like really quizzing me. I've been here since the first time. Do you have an answer? I got question.
So what we have is
Really good question.
a bit of confusion from the top, right? So from DC, we won't say any names, but from DC, we have executive orders and stuff coming out about voter registration, yada, yada, yada. The state's in charge of elections. That's the line we hold. The state's in charge of elections. So there was some concern over naturalization ceremony. Esmeralda has been working with them. So Esmeralda is making sure that we are there along with our fantastic volunteers and VDRs. Esmeralda is also going to everyone.
Wow.
So, I mean, she's already been stretched pretty thin, but she's making sure she goes and she attends and that we have a Dallas County government presence there to make sure that we say, nope, the state has not changed anything about voter registration. Until the state changes something about voter registration, we're going to be at the naturalization event. So we're still going. Other counties are still going. It's just confusion from outside of Texas. But our Texas SOS and Dallas County we're on the same page.
So organizations that have gone in the past to register.
They can still
setting
go.
their
We're
VDRs.
just making sure that we have our Dallas County VDR person on site, just in case.
Well, someone said the League of Women Voters was kicked out of that process. They
We've
couldn't-
heard that they were told some certain things, and that's why we're going now.
We're still working on.
So that's not true?
I don't know what the League of Women Voters was told, but we did hear some things back of people being told that the VDR, the voter registration applications and the process and who can and cannot be there has changed, but that's why we go now, because right, nothing's changed. Shouldn't have changed. The state of Texas still tells us who we can make, we have rules of who can become a VDR. They go through the training, they get their certificate, they can go register vote.
Specifically, we partner a lot with the League of Women Voters, and they're the ones that told me they had to stop.
Yeah.
So,
I think they were told something, and so
I'm glad to know now Esmeralda's gonna be there.
she's there.
Me too.
Yeah, that's good.
And we're still getting quite a few. We get a lot of people. We get a lot of.
I'm sorry for her, but she could have help.
Yeah. But we're there.
That's an awful lot for her.
I think what you're saying is that technically.
Yeah.
Esmeralda doesn't need to be there, but she's
I don't think she
going
does, but, yeah.
for safety.
We're going to make sure that, because we did get notified from different groups that they were like, somebody told us that we can't be here anymore because of the executive order or whatever. We said, no, we're in control. The state's in control of elections. We've heard nothing from the Texas Secretary of State. There's been no advisories about this. Business as usual, but we want to make sure we go there in case
Just in case.
something,
executive
somebody does. An executive order about voter registration.
President, yeah.
President Trump.
I think it caused.
What is it, UCIS? Is that the?
Yeah.
But we went to the Texas Secretary of State's conference, we've gone through the advisories, nothing has changed in the state about voter registration.
Yeah.
Application to change, it looks a little bit differently, we're ordering your application, but besides that, we're still going. Any other? I'm not sure what the next.
It's my turn.
Oh, all right, there we go.
Bring us some
Hey,
joy.
guys.
Bring us good news.
I mean, nothing major. Was it last year, Nick? I feel like I've been, last year.
Yeah.
We updated the website.
Yeah, that's huge.
Okay.
Jayla updated the website, she generously said, wait,
Yay. So last year, we updated.
I like to also say it was free, there's no taxpayer dollars. In the contract, they owed us money, and so we were.
Y'all should pay Jayla.
I know, I was
money
like,
you say.
That's what she said.
That should be.
After all.
Right.
You guys see- Oh my-
Did we, I'm sorry,
I
did we
know-
also announce
I know
that
that
Mr. Griggs was here? I think you walked in after, I just wanted to say that for the record.
Can you guys find?
The gentleman there.
She,
Hey, Carla.
They ate your food since you've been.
Everyone here? Okay.
If you see a nice picture again, it's Jayla, she takes these.
Yeah. Okay, so our whole team does really. So I just wanted to walk through the website, because I think with the update, it was such a blur. And I think our transition to kind of roll out the changes on the website, wasn't as possible. So what we would like to do, we're kind of playing catch up in a sense. So we're gonna take this opportunity to kind of walk through, or not to kind of, to walk through the website and how it functions, how it runs, because it is a large change from the previous website, if anyone remembers it. Okay, there's a lot of information on here purposely because I think the approach for the previous website was just, it was kind of an approach of, you know, us as election officials who work here, how everything is ran, but it kind of missed the aspect of what the voter understands and what the voter can interpret. So we'll just walk through it. I know, Camilla, you had a specific question. You mentioned the
I
website.
have like heard rumors and I wanted to know something about like data
Yes.
being available or different.
So let's start with the data. So something new for the website specifically is the voter list. The voter list is made available at the beginning of the month. You scroll down here. It explains to you exactly what it is. It's a list of registered voters in Dallas County. So it's going to give you a downloadable file. It includes precinct information, all of our registered voter information data, whatever you want to build regarding registered voters in Dallas County. It's really going to allow you to do that. And it's made publicly available on the website at the top of the month. So it's updated every month. The way you navigate to it, you have your voters, election information. This is public information. So it's under our public information tab. It's under voter list. I think that was the specific call out. Outside of that, I'm trying to do like a high overview because I know it's a lot.
It's in a weird format, but that's because it's so large.
It's a huge file.
It's 1 point something million registered voters, right? So,
And that's why I'm just going to click it because
oh, it's huge.
file. Of course, at the top of our banner, you have how many registered voters we have. So like Nick was saying, like 1.4, huge file, right? Something that I wanted to call out that tends to get overlooked, and that's my fault because I need to figure out a better place to put it. Under public information, as you guys all belong to different organizations and have different target audiences, this is something that we built out at the end of last year. And it addresses the different audiences you may be targeting. It's really, it's hidden. I had to figure out where to put it. It's hidden, but once you click on it, it takes you to wherever you need to go, and it tells you exactly how to navigate whoever you're speaking with that falls into, you know, a specific audience or category, just to help them out. I was doxed like 10 points from the website thing.
Wait, what?
For student voting, for voting as a college student. I'm like, it's here, I
Yeah.
promise.
We take
Wait a
that
minute.
League of Women Voters rating seriously. We do. We have them framed.
Okay.
You know, under voters,
That's
maybe.
good to know.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to figure it out because even speaking with Carla, I don't know if you guys met Carla, she's new to our team, our bilingual coordinator. She's like, yeah, that's pretty hard to find. And I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that feedback. So a big component that may interest you all is our election results under current elections. This is always going to go to the current election that we're in, right? So November 4th, 2025. This is where we upload our ENR page once it's available, election day rosters, and scroll down. And this is where you can find everything related to special, you know, the special elections or any election information and notices that are there. So it has their election orders, election notices. Sometimes there's cancellations, right? And it's like, did they cancel the election? I'm hearing that this city or this ISD canceled the election. Like, is it really canceled? What's going on? This table is meant to kind of give you an overview as to what was canceled, if there's any cancellations, and then who canceled it, right? Something that's here for general elections specifically, it's a breakdown. This was where the 17 amendments are listed. And then what we're trying to kind of navigate to is making everything downloadable, so shareable. So you could print this out, it's a QR code. You could distribute it wherever you need to, because a lot of times as a communications team, we get like requests like, do you have a graphic? Do you have this? And I'm like, we could make you it, but bear with us, you know? One of the main pages that's really important is the election information page. This is supposed to be easy to navigate to, like you could click here for a list of proposed amendments. It's going to take you to this table. Let's see. click here for a list of entities. It's just meant to overall be really easy to navigate. You shouldn't really have to dig too deep. You have the search function. Of course, it's available in all 3 languages. Is there anything specifically you guys were curious about or that you have trouble with?
Just want to confirm, I know I had reached out about one of the files. We needed a Spanish translated version of that election
Specific.
information, and y'all got it to us like that. So I
Yeah.
know it was just,
Shout out to Carla.
Because Carla leads, so it looks like we have one website. We have 3. So
Okay,
the way
okay.
Jayla builds it, our comms team, if Jayla makes a change, our
To
other
Spanish.
2 alt language translators will get a notification, and then they can go and change it immediately on their websites. What ends up
Okay.
happening though, sometimes is you have 3 people working in WordPress. And so if we're saving, I think one of the links,
Yeah.
the link to the Spanish one, I remember this one, because the link to the Spanish one,
went to the
Um,
English one.
yeah, something happened and we reverted back to the English link. And I asked Carla's like, yeah, it's been up for weeks. And I was like, well, let's click on the link and double check. And she's like, oh, no, I have it. That's why we were able to get it so fast, because it was already done. The link just
But it
reverted
was
to a
going
weird,
to the
yeah.
other-
This page is really tricky.
Okay.
This is the page that gets touched probably the most between this page and the current election page. We're always updating it. So there seems to be
Yeah,
like a
something.
caching issue
Okay.
that I'm working with the vendor about, because sometimes that happens where it just reverts, but we always have it.
Yes.
We always
No, I
have it
appreciate, I
somewhere.
wanted to give y'all a shout out
Thank
for
you.
getting,
Always have
being
it
on
somewhere.
it, and we click through, because we share all of these resources with our constituents, our district 4, and no, really appreciate it.
And we appreciate it if y'all send us anything like that, because we won't, there's so many links, there's so much happening that
Sometimes we don't.
we
catch
can't
it.
check it all.
We're actually gonna start translating our newsletter to Vietnamese starting in January,
Oh, cool.
and, I'm looking forward to including
To
that
use.
one as well.
Cool. Ryan will be excited about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So like Nick was saying, there's 3 of us working on the website. I maintain the English, Carla maintains the Spanish, and then Ryan, the Vietnamese. Yes, Mrs. Donna.
I want to go back to the voter list with
Mhm.
1.4 million registered voters. If we're going to download that list, what kind of computing, how robust, or what kind of system do you have to have in order to receive that file? Does
Yeah.
anybody know?
It's a data file, right? It's,
Yeah.
what format is it right now? It's,
CSV,
is it CSV? No,
or is it a text?
text. It's a text file now, so you can download it quickly. If you want to open it as a if you want to open it in Excel, that's going to take a little bit of time. And yeah, but no, it will
Text
download
file.
quick as a text file,
So
but
it's a text
once you open it
file.
in whatever application you want to open it in, yeah, it takes quite a bit. I mean, I have an old government laptop. It works slow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so if
as
you've
long
got
as-
16 gig of RAM, you should be able to
Yeah.
download.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be able to download
You know how much,
processing. I don't.
well, how much Wi-Fi bandwidth you need to.
Ooh, I don't, no, as long as you're, well, that's interesting. Because if you're using the application online or whether you're using actually on the Excel sheet, I use it, I can work with it. But I do download and open it in Excel on my computer. So I don't go to like Microsoft.com and open it as a web application. I use it just on my computer. So it should be okay. My computer's really old. Sounds like an old jet taking off. The fan is loud. I'm told we're gonna get a refresh in a year. It's a really old laptop, but it works. I can do it. I upload it.
Probably made better than.
I mean, I've dropped it and nothing, so far been good.
So it gives you the option of what format.
To open it in, yeah. So it's gonna download as a text file. So it's gonna look just like whatever, but if you open it as an Excel, it'll be good.
You do
Should
have
be
to
good.
convert it to an Excel, right?
And that's the wait time.
I
Yeah, that's
think
what happens. Once you open it and you're dealing with that, that's what happens.
Once you've got it down, you're
You're good.
good. It's getting it
Yeah.
down.
Here, in this section, you're going to see the upcoming election date. That was some feedback that we received from the prior website. Everyone was like, when's the next election? How do we know when the next election is? So we try to make it accessible here. Typically, like once early voting starts, this link will become available. So you could start looking at runoff dates, should we have a runoff. And then of course, the 2025 election calendar, that's accessible here. The 2026 one should be up probably prior to early voting ending. It's been kind
You
of
have it
hard.
on, I'm looking at it right now. You have,
20
you have a link,
2026?
you have a link to it.
2026.
You
To the
do.
state website, maybe?
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
From your website, you have a link to
Okay,
the
okay,
2026.
good. So,
Cause I'm looking,
somewhere there.
it goes to the Texas Secretary of State calendar.
Okay. And then one thing to point out here, everything's accessible from these like hot, what do they call them, quick click buttons. So that's something else to consider.
We
Here?
live stream right now, is that up?
Yeah,
We have, so that's not gonna,
a live.
for the
stream.
user, it's not gonna change anything, but for us, we are using, what is it?
Remote live stream for the ballot.
Yeah. We were using a different process. You might have noticed that we would, it's all gonna look the same, to be honest, but it's on our end, it's gonna be quite different. We've been working with the company, where we keep this recording and how we keep the recordings. But, as soon as that 45-day hits to send out the FPCA ballots, those military overseas ballots,
Oh, my
state law says we turn on our cameras, so.
So you're watching it 24/7? Going on?
Yeah,
They're on at that 45-day mark. As soon as we send out that military ballot, we can technically get one back. So at 45 days, we turn all the cameras on, we record everything, which is interesting for Central Count because they come to work and for 8 hours, they're just being recorded.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a state law that changed, I think, a year or
We
two
have
ago.
signs that tell us, like,
Remember, don't pick your nose.
Is that where the Republicans would have to go if they had count?
No.
If they just do it on their own?
It's up to them, yeah,
It's up to them.
They're doing hand count at the polling.
at the location.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I said.
How long do you have to archive that recording?
While voters are.
I believe that we take a general rule of 22 months for any election record. No shorter than 22 months. So we'll keep the recording for a while. But that's kind of why, one of the reasons we had to move to our own system. It's a lot of data. Imagine 45 days of high def recording.
The last thing to call out is the event calendar. Everyone belongs to an organization here. If you have an event that we're attending, or even that you would like us to kind of promote, as long as it's not partisan, then we could publish it here as well. So this is where all of our poll worker training dates are listed. Typically, there's a lot of voter registration, of course, in the month of September and leading up to the month of September. Like this will hit maybe 60, it hits a lot of events. Then there's all the volunteer deputy registrar training that's typically here. Of course, we're towards the end of the year, so you're not seeing as many events popping up, but feel free to always shoot those over to us and we could add them to the website.
that's awesome.
And I think that's it.
We did one.
Good job, Taylor.
Thanks. I tried. It was a team effort. You
Should
can
we
actually
email
put it
you
up.
directly if we wanted to add things to the calendar?
Yeah, you could email me directly or Dallas County Votes. Either way, it will
We'll
get
get
to
it.
whoever
Okay.
needs to get it. So,
Um,
we tag team it, so.
Voter lookup, didn't you worked with the vendor to do a different voter lookup? Is that mail ballot?
Yeah.
So we have, Jayla was working with our vendor to also tell you through our voter lookup, because we get a lot of calls. You can go to the state to track your mail ballot, but not necessarily do it here. And so now when you do your voter lookup, if you're a mail ballot voter, when you do your first name, last name to check if you're registered and all that, there will also be something that notifies where your ballot is in the process.
Yeah.
Which is great. If you're a mail ballot voter, if you're not, then you won't see that.
Because we get a lot of questions like, has my ballot been received?
Yeah.
Or has my ballot been sent out? Or not ballot or application, right?
Yeah.
And so just to kind of alleviate that, we made sure to include that in our vote by mail. You could go to, track your mail ballot.
Yeah.
Probably before the end of this year, we do have a detailed vote by mail video coming out, just to help with that. Yeah, we're overdue for that one.
Yeah. that's
But that one's going to be published on the website too. So we're getting there as a team. We're coming along. And I think that's it. Oh, and then has everyone seen the vote in person? It works like it gives you everything you need about voting in person. So you have your vote in person, you click it, it takes you wherever you need, the election information page. This is going to take you to our sample ballot to do your voter lookup, procedures for voting, because a lot of times we process it. This is a video we did with March Pulse. A lot of times we give our judges and clerks a lot of information, but the public doesn't have that information as well. So that's what this page is for. And that's it.
Any changes to, I've gone in here to order maps in the past or to make special requests. Where would that be in
So
the
that is
setup?
going to be under public information, and then you'll do precincts and maps. So Mr. Kev, he used to, you guys used to email him. So he now has a form that he manages. So like here, you'll click make a request and it's going to take you to a form. So that way you could just kind of put in what your request is and then he processes them as a request.
Okay.
What's the
And-
average turnaround time for a request?
It depends on what the request is.
You can get pretty customizable sometimes. Sometimes people don't want to see street names, but sometimes people are like, I want to see every street name. I want to see this. So he's really fast. I'll say that. We have a really great printer in-house that we print everything else on ourselves. So it's pretty quick, but I won't speak for him, but he can do it pretty fast.
He's serious about it.
Yeah, yes.
And y'all even do digital files that you can share, right?
Yeah, and then that's something, I'm glad you mentioned that because all of our maps are here as well. So you have your district, 1, 2, district precincts, congressional, college, and you could filter that way rather than having to make like a special request. Some of the maps that you may be looking for may be here. Okay. That's about
Is
it.
that a new feature, maps too?
The maps?
Yeah. Like
No, well, I think they were just kind of hidden on the old website. The PDFs always existed. It's just a matter of navigating.
Navigating and labeling.
Yeah.
Mr. De Los Santos?
Yes, I'm sorry, again, that I got here late and I didn't hear the discussion that you were talking about the upcoming election. In the past, a lot of our high school students have wanted to work and be part of the election process. Where are you at in terms of hiring the staff for the general?
So we have, this election specifically, it's a smaller election. And so we, I think, had about 600 applications. And so far, I think we're over 200 and something. So the way we do it is we ask the judge, would you like a high school student, right? And so most likely, mostly the judges really do appreciate the students and they're very helpful, right? So depending on, I don't know right now, but I know we crossed over 200 placed. And we had like about 500 to 600 applicants. And this is a smaller election, so we're pretty happy with that number. And then we think that something to talk about, we're hopefully gonna have a ton at that March primary. That's gonna be a fun one to work, I think, for high school student. So our hope is to have at least one at every vote center, right? And so that's gonna be our goal, and maybe it's something we can talk about, how we get that information out to everybody at the.
And I think they're in the process of placing.
They're placing right now.
The students have already been attending training.
Yep.
And they're being placed at this time. So if you're a judge, or, if you're a judge and you need a student election clerk, you could always email the voting sites department. We've received some of those emails too, about like, hey, did I get a student election clerk assigned or whatever the case may be.
She's got
That's
a
it.
single Dallas County elected official.
Everyone okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh, thank you guys. I think that was
the last item.
Yeah.
Which county you?
Which if y'all have wanted in the meeting, I think a member has to move, right?
Motion to adjourn. Well, yeah, there's no.
Oh, that's right, there's no quorum, you're right.
What is the quorum?
7, right? 7 of you.
8.
We have a quorum.
One. We
Oh, we do.
Yeah, Mr. Greaves came in late. That's
Okay,
right. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, you came in.
We didn't need
so-
I came in late.
Counting so much this all the time.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
so-
we had 2 people come in, so we do have a quorum.
I can't 1, 2, 3,
Great.
4, 5, 6,
I'm not.
6, 7. We have at least 7.
In the past, hasn't been quorum when we start the meeting,
Oh, okay.
and then by the time it gets to the end.
Yeah. All right, then let's vote on something.
Okay. Then you can vote on adjourn.
On the student clerks, will you alert the judge that they've been assigned a student clerk?
Yes, same process as any clerk. If they request it, we'll sign. And sometimes we even have judges that are like, I love this student. They were great last time. We want that student. So yeah, we'll alert them that they were assigned a.
Okay, so they're not gonna be surprised.
Yeah, no, they won't.
I am curious, one, about our next meeting, and 2, if we should elect a chair and a.
We're waiting for that to go through commission.
That's not elected.
Oh, they're appointed by the commissioners.
Yeah.
Yes, and then
I'm like,
after.
I
After
I have
the,
made it very vocal to my commissioners that I like.
Yeah.
after the appointment, then we could also do secretary.
I think that-
You always-
Yeah, I've been secretary. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have an appointment for the
Because
secretary.
we have a chair, vice chair, secretary, and there's other 3 men.
Yeah, so I've been reviewing the bylaws, quite a bit recently. So once the chair and the vice chair are selected, then we could kind of present the bylaws, a little bit more in depth. Because you guys at one point had subcommittees.
We did. But that's because we were doing something. We had the bylaws committee and they finished the bylaws.
Okay.
And then we had another committee, I forgot what it was.
I think it was mission and vision, right?
I thought there was a training one.
No.
I have to look it up.
Technically separate.
Yeah, so it was just, something to go over, the bylaws.
That is what was training, because we were figuring out a way to determine if how judges are doing.
Mhm.
Kind of like
So it's
lay
just
judges.
things to talk about.
What's CEAC? I just don't know how to pronounce it.
We're good? Motion or no? Okay.
I corrected.
Okay, is anyone online have any questions? Oh, anyone online have any questions? Oh, wait. No, that one's.
No, you're good. It's the camera mic.
Bye.
I said at the very beginning.
No, everyone okay?
We're good.
I'm sending out the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Was nice meeting all of you.
Yeah.
Mayor Paul.
Yes.
David Griggs. Nice to meet you as well.
Yep.
We need to represent District 2.
Oh, yeah. But the people who.
You?
Yeah, I'm always just hanging out in the background.
You're right.
Nice meeting all of you. Very, very nice.
You should get me stuff here.
Oh, okay. Very used to meeting with people and voters on a regular basis.
Nice to meet you. Just then, and March they come down the pipeline. Yeah.